Hey, welcome back to defendingutah.org. This is Ben McClintock here with Micah Turner here from defendingutah.org, where we think right and wrong, not right and left. And today, just recently we had an episode about courts and their corruption regarding somebody that is in a position to be able to defend themselves, a state legislator, a former county commissioner. But something really bad happened this week to just a regular person.
Last night.
Well, depending on how soon we get this out there.
Okay.
We're not live. Shh, don't tell anybody we're not live.
Okay, we are secret.
And so we want to talk to you about that. And but before you do, make sure you, if you like what we do here at Defending Utah, go to defendingutah.org and click on the membership tab, become a member today, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now, we have the Ken and Barbara Cromar was it Alpine, Utah? Somewhere in there. Cedar Hills. Yeah, Cedar Hills.
Cedar Hills.
And several years ago, the federal government said, you haven't paid your taxes, we're taking your home. And there was no due process, meaning they weren't charged with the crime. They were not put on trial. There was no evidence presented. They just said, you owe us $2 million or something like that.
Well, the IRS said that they owed him $1 million. And basically, Ken got a preliminary hearing. The judge threw out half of the charges immediately, and then the IRS just did nothing. So nothing happened. And flash forward 10 years to basically the end of last year. And
10 years of doing nothing.
Nothing. Like everything was like about to expire on the statute of limitations. And they decided, well, let's pick it up again. And so they pulled some chicanery. And they sent 16 marshals to Ken's house in the middle of the night, and they dragged him out of his house and his wife out of the shower and just kicked him on the street and changed the locks and said, it's not your home anymore. So
no trial. They weren't charged with any crime. Like, usually if you're going to be charged with tax evasion, they'll charge you with a crime. There'll be actual criminal charges, and then the punishment, they'll say either jail time or they'll say we're going to take away your property. But there was no actual trial. There was no charges. There was no verdict, and there was no sentence presented. They just came there and stole their home.
Yeah, and so what happened ultimately is, well, not ultimately, we're getting to that, but what's happening along the way here on this story is that Ken Cromar used to be on the city council, and I guess he made a lot of issues and he made a lot of enemies in government. And I've met the man a few times. I think him to be a good and genuine man. Unlike basically anyone else who's been in government. Just about.
Except your dad.
Except for who?
Your dad.
Sure. Anyway, okay, so I'm just getting lost. Okay, so this thing was about to expire. One of his neighbors is a retired cop, and he really hates him. And so he worked with his neighbor who's a cop, worked with one of his other neighbors who's down the street, who basically takes people's houses from IRS auctions.
His whole
living.
Right. His whole living is made by buying homes stolen from people by the government.
Yeah. So they got together and they got another judge. I think maybe it was a Judge Brown.
That sounds familiar.
I think it's Judge Brown. They got together and they conspired to take this man's house away. And so from that, they said, well, we're going to do this, going to put it on the market. And then the retired cop said, I'm going to buy it on the market, on the IRS market, from the auctions. So they did all that. They got him thrown out. And then basically as quick as they could, because this is what the IRS does, is they don't do due process. They don't wait for trials. And then in order to complicate the issue, they want to take the property and then they want to sell it as fast as they can.
That way nothing can be done.
Yeah.
As an individual, you have no time to respond.
Yeah, but then also that makes the new owners, like, then a victim is created if they want to like do something, a false victim, really. Anyone who's buying houses from IRS auctions, you're doing a very immoral thing. Anyway, so the guy, he promised to pay a bunch of money and he couldn't do it, the retired cop.
Oh, right.
And then, against the rules of the auction,
after there was a certain time frame where they originally had to do a down payment that they couldn't meet, and then there was a time frame where they had to meet the rest of it by X date, and they weren't able to meet that deadline either. But the IRS didn't care; they continued to allow them to claim ownership.
Yeah, and they moved it over, instead of the ex-cop, a man by the name of Brett Belliston, who owns the company Copper Birchwood Properties LLC, or Copper Birch Properties LLC, something like that. I'm sorry, I forget. It's been a while since I've looked up his business. He doesn't live very far from Cromar either. Probably about 10 minutes. His address is 9671 North, 5650 West in Highland. Anyway, so he then illegally purchased it, even bypassing all the IRS rules. Then they did a whole bunch of chicanery. Ken moved back into his house that he legally owns and rechanged the locks. The cops came to visit him and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I have the title to this property. This is my property. You guys are trespassing." And then the local cops said, "Oh, I guess."
Should we show that video?
I guess we're going to stay out of it. Sure.
So we're just to pull that up. I didn't even think about doing that until you actually just brought that up. So I wasn't queued up, but I think it'd be a good idea to kind of show what's going on there with that. We won't watch the whole thing, but we'll kind of show the beginning of it. So they come over, and then the police have this interaction with the Cromars in their home that the IRS claims isn't their home anymore, but was illegally taken from them. Even during this time, it was still listed on the county records as the Cromars' property. There was one deed at that point. Then later on, they created a second deed.
No, they had two deeds at that point.
Was it? I thought there was only one.
Maybe you're right.
I think it was later on they created the second deed. So let's just.
But the records weren't changed at the same time that the fabricated second deed was in existence.
Officers, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Who do we have?
Officer Kinnaman.
Officer Kinnaman and Officer Bird. How you doing?
Good, nice to meet you.
Good.
So what's going on today?
You're on my property, and I'd like you to get off, please.
Okay. So,
is there any problem with you?
How did you guys get into the house?
This is my house.
Okay.
You can go look at it on the front door.
Did you notice the sign in the front window that says property of the U.S. government?
Do you work for the U.S. government?
I know, and I work for the city of American Fork and also the city of Cedar Hills.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah, it's. I don't think it's any of your concern, but thanks for coming, and I'd like to invite you to leave the property.
Well, we are also doing the same thing, inviting you to leave the property as well. So.
Well, there's a sign on the front yard that says $250,000. We've got your name. You're here, right? Did anybody force you to come on the property?
No, we were called here.
Yeah, we got
by who?
Concerned citizens.
Somebody that called us. So
okay.
They didn't give us their name.
Well, that's okay. And so there's nothing to worry about.
So just fast forward a little bit.
So take a good look, and that is why you'll have.
You know, the government's claiming that they're squatters, but you know they're here. The police have been here.
Can't squat in your own property.
They're not. He's not under arrest. It's his property. It's on the records. They're outside. They could have arrested him right there. There's nothing protecting him. There's nobody around, you know, stopping the police from arresting Mr. Cromar. He's informing them of the law that he has written on signs outside of his home.
Already.
He's making a phone call, doesn't know what to do. They're taking pictures of the signs on there.
We're just trying to figure out what's going on based on the report that we got. I haven't been up here before. before, so.
No, I can sense you're, I can sense you're reasonable.
Before, so.
You seem very reasonable to me. So notice down there it talks about.
And you put these up?
Yes, this is my property, and so I'd be very grateful, officer, if you would let people know at your police station. They should already know this because I sent a letter to your chief of police.
Why were they all covered up then?
My neighbor across the street.
They were not covered.
They were not covered.
A couple hours ago.
We didn't know it was covered.
So someone covered them just recently.
And I'll tell you why they probably did, because they're trying to sell their house, and they didn't like that, and that's okay. And so you didn't know, so I forgive you this time.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go speak with Officer Bird.
Thank you.
Somebody covered
Put the
them.
plastic back.
They weren't covered when I came.
And don't arrest them. It was a nothing burger. They found that, all of the documents showed that it was the Cromars' home.
Yeah.
And they didn't arrest him because there was no law broken. There was no warrant for Mr. Cromar's arrest.
There was charges.
There was no
filed.
charges. There was no ability to be able to evict them as squatters because they were the property owners.
Yeah. So fast forward from that, this guy, Brett Belliston, he got a fraudulent second title made through the system, through all of his buddies. Ken even has emails, I've seen them, where they're emailing back and forth to each other, and he's like, if I can't get a title, then I just want all my money back. Like, they're in communication.
So it's a criminal conspiracy going
Yes,
on right there.
The IRS agent involved in this, the local judge, the ex-cop, and the guy who does this for a living, they're all colluding, and Belliston, they're all colluding together to take this man's home away from him that he owns. So
Outright.
night,
It wasn't even like he didn't pay his mortgage. It was owned outright.
So last night, they got Ken. They arrested him when he was away from the home.
September 24th, 2020.
Yeah, he was grocery shopping or something. I don't know what it was. Or maybe they just pulled him over. I'm sure they were tailing him.
Of course, because they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and then they got him, and then there was a bunch of people in there occupying the house. They brought in the SWAT team.
Drove on their lawn. Looked like they were going to bash into the house.
No, they drove on their lawn.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's from Barbara's video that she posted.
Video, yeah. Just everywhere, and they just went nuts, and eventually they all came out. So anyway, you've been updated of the situation.
So Barbara and Ken are right now in prison.
Well, I think they just posted bail.
Oh, are they out now? Okay,
Yeah,
so they
they're
were
out
arrested,
now.
not in prison. Sorry, they were in jail last night, and they've
On Barbara, they're accusing her of burglary, enters building unlawfully, and another charge of wrongful appropriation.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Interesting.
That they're saying
They
you're
wrongfully
claiming-
spent money.
I don't know. Like, she's claiming. Well, she didn't. I guess burglary is you go in and you take stuff. But
Right.
if you appropriate something, you stay there. Like, you claim all of it. I don't
Interesting.
know.
Okay, let's look into that
I'm
deeper.
using my imagination.
It just came out, so we haven't been able to get all the
Yeah,
details.
I don't know.
How about Ken? Do we have the Ken's charges yet?
I would assume they would be relatively similar, if not the same.
Gotcha.
But I don't know.
Okay.
That's his wife, Barbara Cromar,
We'll find that out.
is these fraudulent charges. So
It'd be funny if they just go right back to the house and reoccupy it.
that's what I was suggesting they do some time ago. Now we had Enoch and I went over on scene. We got the call a little late, so we didn't get there in time when everything was really happening. We kind of did the aftermath, but I decided that I was going to cause some problems for them during their news report, where they always only say news, their propaganda report. So I went ahead and interjected myself a lot.
Well, the different news reports covered different things. It was funny. There was one, I think it was Channel 2, where they were interviewing the undersheriff, the criminal, Deputy Cox.
Yes,
and
Spencer.
Spencer
Cannon.
Cannon, not Cox. Cannon.
Yeah, Spencer Cannon.
And
I talked with him. I had talked with him 2 years ago about a DUI traffic stop, he was doing, and I
When
said,
they were blocking my driveway,
yes, they were blocking Ben's
like
driveway.
literally, they formed a DUI checkpoint blocking my driveway so that I could not leave my home or come home without going through this DUI checkpoint in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, and yeah, you didn't even live in Alberta. You lived on the outskirts of Alberta.
On your way to what was that, Eureka? But yeah,
It was a very long. It was like half a mile driveway or something.
Yeah.
To get to your house.
well, at least yeah,
So it's like basically blocking his road
right.
is more appropriately to his house.
But anyways, so that's your experience originally with
so
Canon.
and I talked with him for that time. I just want to paint a picture, and we're going to go more over this guy later because we got some footage. We don't have it ready right now. So, but I talked to him for about 45 minutes, very late at night. I was surprised he answered, and I said, "You can't do DUI checkpoints; they're illegal."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Yes, we can. We have a warrant from the judge, and from a judge." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting, because like you can't just pull people over because you feel like it, which that's what a DUI checkpoint is."
Right. It's a blanket warrant with
And so I go, "Okay, whose name was on it?"
because
And he goes, "No,
of the
nobody's
Fourth
name."
Amendment requires.
Yeah, it's just a place. I say, "Oh, okay. Well, let me read you what a warrant is." So I read the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, of the Bill of Rights. You know, you have the right to be secure in their pace and purpose, houses and effects against unreasonable search and seizures, and nothing shall be issued without, the probable cause and the places and the persons and the things to be searched or seized.
Specifically.
Yeah, like by definition, a warrant has a name on it.
No name, no warrant.
No name, no warrant. There's no name, no warrant. And so he goes, "Oh, but we had a judge sign off on it." And I go, "Oh, really? So whose name was on it?" He goes, "Well, it wasn't." I go, "Well, let me go ahead and read you what a warrant is again." It's just, I did that like 10 times. This kind of guy that he is.
Yeah.
An evil man.
Doesn't care about the wording of the Constitution. The judge said so no, therefore it must be true.
That's just his rationale.
Nothing I can do about it.
Justify the things that he already knows he's
Right.
doing that are wrong.
Right.
He's not an ignorant man. So, shall we?
So when they did the raid, of course, the police were. I mean, the fake media was informed about what was going on, and they became ready. I don't think we have the whole report, and it's not really necessary. But
It's not.
The interesting part, I think, is is available for us.
The more interesting part we have, but we got to get it off.
We'll put it together.
Yeah,
This is
we
a
gotta get it
preliminary
together.
report. So let's go and watch this.
A little bit earlier, just within the past hour in that neighborhood, a very large presence from law enforcement. The situation got a little testier when a group showed up to support Paul Kenneth.
That guy right there looks pretty familiar.
Doesn't he?
What's that T-shirt say?
don't know.
Fake pandemic, and there's
I'm not sure. It's a little blurry. Could we get a close up?
there's Deputy Cox, or well, not, I keep on saying Cox. It's because it's Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer
Cannon,
Connor.
and then we have our own Enoch Moore.
Cromar and his wife. Investigators say this is a long-term situation between and the federal government, which has claimed Cromar went years.
There we go.
Tax.
Oh, that's what my shirt says.
There's your zoom up. I love. If there's ever a silver lining around a horrible situation, which this is a horrible situation
This is very
that we don't want to make light of, but hey, if we can use the media to promote the truth, let's go ahead and do that.
If we can trick them into doing it,
I love
that's basically what happened.
how they posted this big as life on one of the biggest news stations in the state. So
Yeah.
you want to continue a little bit on this, or
And a court issued his house to be seized because of an outstanding tax debt of over $1 million. The home is
Now,
Yeah.
a couple other things happened of lesser consequence. And I think that'll sum up the preliminary report. What we're going to need to do is,
we got other footage that we'll be putting together for you.
we're going to need to follow up with this, what's going on. We really need to get perhaps some flash mob phone calls, for lack of a better
To the
word.
sheriff's department.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe that's a good idea. Lots of people need to be harassed. Maybe other things. I think the Cromars need to occupy their home again, maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, that's up to them, of course. I don't know what's...
The county sheriff's department, the Utah County Sheriff's Department, 801-851-4000. 801-851-4000.
Yeah. And what we really need is we need to get Belliston's number. We need to broadcast that. People need to start calling that bad man, because none of this would be escalating if he wasn't involved in this criminal conspiracy.
Right.
So, because now they get to say, oh, there's somebody who owns the home. We got to get him out of the home. It's not just some faceless bureaucratic entity.
Right.
So, and I know we have had that information before, and we will get it. People need to harass that man and his businesses.
There's actually been some people that have actually gone to his home to be able to do that. Here we go. I'm going to share this. This is on YouTube, so it's public. I don't think we're doing anything.
No, don't share it.
Okay, don't share it because it's got some addresses and stuff on there.
No, but not for other reasons.
Okay, never mind. I won't do that. Okay,
I won't share that exactly yet, but
okay, we'll work together and let people know what's going on, and they can see what's going on, because there was a situation where people have been confronting them and telling them what's going on, and they're just they're so callous.
Yeah.
As to the facts, it's just disgusting.
Yeah, and we're like, we were there, and I was correcting him live on TV.
Oh, you mean Canon? Yeah.
And like some terrible woman driving by in her car goes, "Pay your taxes." It's like, you don't even know what's going on here.
Right.
You're literally just a heartless woman.
Due process.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. That's what everybody needs, is due process. Everybody deserves it. Everybody has a right to due process. And when they don't do that, the government's breaking the law.
And of course, income tax is illegal. But he didn't even get due process. So we'll start at that onion there so that the average person can swallow the appropriate pill.
And just for you IRS viewers out there, you IRS employees viewing this, Micah says that he violates the law by paying his income tax. So don't have to worry about that at all.
It's true. I am violating my right to not have to testify against myself.
Right. So we're all safe here. Don't worry about it. We will. If there's anything else, or are we? I think this is a good wrap up. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel. If you like what we do, go to defendingutah.org and click on the membership tab. Donate today, as you can do it online at the website or through Venmo at defending-utah. Until next time, I'm Ben McClintock here with Micah Turner.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
We hope that a vaccine's on its way. I believe that in fact will be the case.
During my baby's last precious hours, when I desperately wanted to kiss her soft cheeks and smell her amazing smell, I let her see and return my smiles. I was nagged and dogged and threatened about the damn mask. That was the priority.
It's not a matter of taking away the religious liberty of any of the members of our church. They are not related.
We can keep track of everything you do as a consumer, and we are keeping track.
We just heard some rumors. About some parents in our community and surrounding communities that were not really agreeing with the mask mandate.
The crowd followed them from the public safety building to get out here to the library. It was the first time they'd really seen a police presence out in this area. And then this one Salt Lake City police car was just parked on the side of the road. And these protesters, ralliers, took advantage of the situation.
Hundreds of millions of God's children have been murdered by some government in the 20th century alone.
Two contending forces, Satan, one hand, personal liberty, the other.